All right, today we are diving deep, and I mean deep, into the Daril mythos. We're going to explore this incredible, surreal place that was literally born from the runoff of a cosmic event. You'll see how a character gets forged in absolute solitude, right after this huge, communal, fiery climax. It's a story all about finding the perfect setting for a massive transformation. So here's how we're going to break it down. We'll start with a huge narrative problem they had to solve. Then we'll check out the amazing setting they created to fix it. After that, we'll follow the character's journey, see him transform, and finally, we'll talk about why it all just works so perfectly.
You know, every great story has these make-or-break transitions. And the challenge here? It was a big one. How in the world do you take a character like the Moon King from the middle of a volcano, this blazing communal party, and throw him into the absolute freezing cold depths of total isolation?
I mean, just look at the contrast here. It's night and day. On one side, you've got the chthonic furnace, Vesuvius. It's all about fire, energy, community, what they call active nihilism. Then on the other side, you've got the goal, the canal, water, reflection, isolation, and this concept of sovereign solitude. You're literally going from a collective inferno to a single, silent echo.
So the big question is, how do you build a bridge between two places that are polar opposites? Well, the answer is just brilliant. It's not just a place, it's more like a whole state of being. Let's get into the solution, this masterfully designed world called the Venice of the Void.
Okay, so first things first, this is not the Venice you'd go to on vacation. It's a Geist echo, like a spiritual ghost or an afterimage of the real city. And it was formed from the mystical runoff of this great eclipse of the blood. Think of it as the cosmic drainage pipe for all the excess violet gamma radiation that poured out of Vesuvius. Wild, right?
And the water? Oh, the water is where it gets really crazy. It's not H2O anymore. It's been completely changed into something called runic mercury. Imagine liquid silver, glowing, mixed with the magical violet ash from a god's power. So you're not rowing on a river. You're rowing on a current of pure magic and memory. The whole place is soaked in this twilight energy. The water gives off this cold light that basically flips reality inside out. It's like putting on a pair of glasses that blurs out all the surface-level noise, the phenomenon, so you can see the deep, underlying truth of things, the noumenon.
So what this means is that the water itself is an active character in the story. It's filled with two contradictory runes, Isa, which means stillness and ice, and Logos, which means water and flow. Because of that paradox, it doesn't ripple like normal water. It moves in these rigid, almost sentence-like patterns. And the craziest part? You look into it and you don't see your own face. You see your shadow self.
And the vibe all this creates, it's perfectly described as active melancholy. This isn't just being sad. No. It's a gorgeous, meaningful decay. A floating city of the dead with the very sky feels like it's dissolved into the canal. It's a sadness with a purpose, and that purpose is about to become very clear.
So, with this unbelievable stage set, we can finally watch the Moon King's journey across it. And it's not just a trip. It's laid out like a powerful Nietzschean parable. It's his deliberate, step-by-step passage into what the mythos calls the seventh solitude.
This whole parable happens in 4 distinct acts. We've got his departure from the fire, him boarding this very symbolic boat, a critical conversation with himself, and it all builds to this incredible moment of self-realization at the end.
So it all starts with him leaving. Picture it. His allies are behind him, celebrating their victory, screaming once more at the sky. But the Moon King, he just turns his back on all of it. He consciously decides to leave that warmth, that community, to go find the path of the ice. It's a harder path for sure, but it's the only one that leads to true sovereignty.
And his boat, get this, it's not made of wood. He steps onto a black gondola that was literally carved from the solidified will of a dead philosopher. And the ore he uses, it's a silver ore of reverse alchemy, a tool that can actually undo creation. He's basically rowing his way through this world powered by pure philosophy.
Of course, as he starts drifting down the canal, that runic mercury starts to work its magic. His own reflection, his shadow self, rises from the water to challenge him. And it asks him the one question that really matters, giving a voice to the temptation he just left behind. Why are you leaving? The overman belongs in the fire, dancing. It's his own doubt staring right back at him.
But his reply, it's just a philosophical mic drop.
He basically says that, yeah, the fire makes big, impressive clouds of smoke, but it's the deep silence that gives a single star its meaning. He's choosing a harder, more profound truth over the easy justifications you get from being part of a group.
Okay, this brings us to the climax of his journey. Because remember, this is way more than just a boat ride. This is the moment a new worldview is forged, a brand new axiom for his entire existence.
He finally reaches the Bridge of Sighs, and in this one violent moment of self-actualization, he takes his oar and he just smashes the water's surface, shattering his own reflection. He's done passively looking at his shadow self. Now, he's going to define it himself, forcefully.
And this is it. This is his new truth. He declares, "I am the eclipse." He's saying he's not just a reflection of the sun, which represents reason, or a reflection of the void, which is nihilism. No, he is the twilight that exists between them. This is so huge. He's rejecting that entire binary and defining himself as a sovereign being who creates his own meaning. So let's step back for a second and just pull it all together. Why does this whole thing, this bizarre setting and this philosophical parable, work so incredibly well as a narrative transition?
Well, it really works on three key levels. First off, it's philosophically consistent. It perfectly mirrors Nietzsche's whole idea of retreating into isolation to strengthen your spirit. On top of that, it masterfully weaves in the world's magic system, letting the Moon King literally interact with the source code of his reality. And finally, the setting is the perfect physical manifestation of the seventh solitude, that glorious, necessary isolation.
And all of this leaves us with a really powerful thought to chew on. The Moon King's journey is telling us that some truths, well, you just can't find them in a crowd or even with your closest friends. They can only be discovered when you find the courage to row out into the silent waters of your own self. So I'll leave you with this question. What truth can only be found in solitude?